The Oklahoma Sooners picked up a big-time commitment from a dynamic safety in the 2026 class.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com today to get started. He's Jay Smith of Unfair Sports. I'm John Williams of Sooners Wire at USA Today Sports. And the Oklahoma Sooners picked up their first defensive commitment in the 2026 recruiting cycle from Niko Jandreau, a safety prospect out of Arizona, Jay.
Yeah, he's been looked at by the Sooners for a bit. He's made some visits. He also has a twin brother named Bowe. So there's an opportunity for the Sooners to grab both. The future cast actually dropped right after Niko put out his commitment, but Hayes Fawcett dropped a graphic, and Parker Thune over at OU Insider dropped a video of when Niko actually told Brandon Hall that he was going to commit, which was pretty cool to see. He kept it under wraps for a little bit, but the best part about it is that Oklahoma is still continuing the trend of going after safeties that like to hit people in the face. Like if you go look at the pictures of Niko Jandreau as well as his brother Bowe, they're big dudes. Like they look like they work out, and like for real, look like they work out, but they also like to hit people. And so if there's one room that I know that none of us have a concern about, it's that safety room. And Brandon Hall has been cooking in his recruiting.
Yeah, so Niko had offers from USC, Mizzou, Washington, Iowa State, among others. And you're going to look at the recruiting rankings and you're like, oh, he's just a 3-star. He's not even rated by ESPN, really. He's pretty low on the rankings. But I'd really challenge you to go watch his huddle highlights because the dude plays with such violence and such force every time he goes to make a tackle that you can see over at huddle. He's knocking a dude back or 3 or 4 feet one direction. I mean, he doesn't just tackle a guy. He like pops them and moves them. And this is just another one of those guys, similar to, as Jay mentioned when we were talking about him a little bit earlier in the day, Robert Spears Jennings. Reminds you a little bit of a Michael Boganowski, a guy that's not just looking to tackle, not just looking to play defense. He's looking to put a hurt on somebody. He's really looking to punish somebody. And it kind of fits a little bit of the mold of what they're trying to do is find violent defenders so that they can be a physical force in the SEC.
Yeah, and even add Reggie Powers III in there, right? He had a whole highlight reel of just leveling people while he was in high school. But no, you're exactly right. Those players are great examples of what Oklahoma's trying to go after. They're going after players that want to hit. And Niko, in the article I read after his commitment, he basically said that, he wanted to play in either the Big Ten or the SEC because that's where the best players are. And, Oklahoma, when he got there, he saw the faith, he saw the culture, and he felt like that was the best place for him. And so in that case, Oklahoma got themselves the opportunity to win him. And then his brother, like I said, a future cast that was dropped by Parker Thune for his brother Bowe to also come to Oklahoma. Now, I know they both want to play together. They want to be a package deal, but it's all based upon the coaching staff that they want to take them. But the way they're both built, they're built for SEC ball. Like 6'1", 200 pounds in high school, and you look as jacked as they are, there's a good chance that if they keep that up and they get the conditioning very good so they can continue to move while also being that size, they're going to be a problem in the SEC. People aren't going to want to get hit by them. They're going to be a threat. You come across the middle, wide receivers are going to be like, the Jandreau kids right now, I'm going to go ahead and wait. So Oklahoma is going to continue. It feels like the Sooners are continuously looking at dudes that, like I said, they want guys that hit. They want violent players. They want ones that whenever you get hit by them, you feel it and you think about it and you question life and you try to decide, is this what I want to do with myself? They want dudes that will make you quit football because you get hit too hard. I love the stories of people talking about why they quit football. And I feel like Niko and Bowe are two guys that could lead you to saying, yeah, I think I'm good.
What's fascinating when you watch him also is just his ability to read what the offense is trying to do, react, and jump into the areas to make plays. Like I saw like a tunnel screen that one offense was trying to run, and he was playing kind of in that nickel safety, that box safety role. And he saw it developing and immediately shot through the offensive line. They sent out like 3 offensive linemen to the left side, and he was able to read it, see what was happening. He got to the backfield just as the ball was getting to the running back on that screen, and just blew it up. And there were so many plays like that where he's just seeing what's happening as it's happening and getting downhill fast. Like he reads it fast, he reacts fast, and he gets downhill fast to make a play. And that's what you want. Like those are the kind of players that you want to have on your defense. Guys that aren't going to be hesitant. They're not going to second guess. They're not going to have a misunderstanding of what they're seeing in front of them, because so much of playing good defense is having a good understanding of what you see. So you know that Jandreau is coming in. He's going to be a smart asset to Oklahoma's defense, and he's going to be able to be a difference maker in that way, because if you can see it fast, you can play it fast. If you're not seeing it fast, you're going to be a step behind what the offense is trying to do. And so I think that's another element of his game that I really, really like. The reason he's able to play so fast and play with such confidence is because he has a good understanding of, one, his responsibility, but 2, what the offense is trying to do.
Exactly. Look like some smart players. So, John, I got to ask you on this. Now that this is our first defensive commitment, do you feel like Oklahoma has a chance and Brent Venables and his staff are starting to build some momentum to start getting more? Because to me, it felt like it was more likely we were going to start seeing recruits closer to June. And that's when you're going to start to see the staff say, hey, we're ready for commitments. We want you to lock it down this summer. That way we can go into the fall like we always do, in a quiet time.
Yeah, I think it's just par for the course of the Brent Venables era. Each season or each recruiting cycle, this is kind of what we've seen. You might have a commitment or 2 by April. I think I want to say you had Kevin Sperry for a long time in the 2025 class, but then he ended up flipping. But after Kevin Sperry committed, it was kind of a while. You had Sperry was committed for a long time, but then it took a little bit before, what was it? Maybe Jeremiah Newcomb was the next one you got.
He came out of nowhere too. Yeah.
And he committed in like April. But in 2024, you didn't have a commitment in the 2024 cycle until Michael Hawkins.
He was February, I think. And then from there, you start to see him drop, like you said, later on. So,
but the biggest percentage of the recruiting class was built in May, June, July, August, and really significantly in June, July, August.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're going to have probably 99% of their class built by the time the fall season kicks off for high school ball. Cause one, those kids want to be done with it. They want to have the recruitments over. They want to have their visits taken care of. Now there's going to be a select few that they'll be in on, that they're going to want to host for visits during the season. But I think a big percentage of their class is going to be done by the time they reach, fall football. And that's just the way Brent Venables operates. That's the way this thing operates. Now we're going to talk in the second segment about maybe some fluctuations that might occur over the next 7 months as we get to the early signing period, but you're not going to see a lot of decommitments. You're not going to see a lot of flips. You might see a couple, and it wouldn't surprise me to see a couple, but I don't think you're going to see more than 2.
Yeah. I don't see more than 2 with how small the class is currently. Anyway, I don't see a whole bunch really leaving, but I can see Oklahoma really buckling down and starting to get some of the big players that they're going after, especially on the defensive side of the ball, to get locked in now. Jim Nagy's had the opportunity to truly evaluate what options are out there and what players exist. And I think that now that we're past the transfer portal era, we're now focusing on the regular season and going after recruits. They're probably trying to figure out, okay, who makes the most sense to go after? Who's the ones that we want? Who do we want to build this roster around? What type of players are actually NFL talent, or who we feel like could truly project into NFL talent, and then go after them. So for me, I'm anticipating that we will start seeing the Sooners actually start picking up more players probably over the next month. I say June, July is probably going to be the busiest for us again.
Yeah, I mean they might have 2 or 3 in August, but it's going to be the bulk of it is going to come in June and July because they're going to have
Yeah.
Champ U Barbecue. They're going to have there's another big recruiting event that they have in the summer. I can't remember what
You
it's called.
got Party at the Palace. You
Party
got
at the
Champion
Palace,
Barbecue.
Champ U Barbecue. Like so, yeah, they're going to be very very active.
Yeah, you got 4 straight weekends.
Yeah,
in
you'll
June.
see
It's gonna be
commitments
crazy.
fly after that. But
Yep.
yeah, I think by August you'll have maybe 2 or 3 more that you're in pursuit of that are still kind of hanging on. But for the most part, you'll have most of your class finished by the time you get to August. One name that's still kind of up in the air, that's a commitment in Jaden O'Neal. But what's coming up, we'll discuss coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. So FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, same-game parlays. One of the things I actually enjoy, and fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Like I'm looking at this Knicks and Celtics. Fortunately, the Celtics lost one of their best players, and now the Knicks have a chance to close it out. I'm looking at a 4-leg same-game parlay, taking the Knicks on the money line, Derek White to go score 20-plus points, Jaylen Brown to score 30-plus points, and Jaylen Brown to get over 6 rebounds because it feels like the entire team will be on him. That wager at $10 could get you some big stuff. And if you win on your first $5 bet, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. So if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If you win, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
And thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in, subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, Jay, the quarterback situation for the Oklahoma Sooners is going to be one of the top storylines to follow over the next 7 months. I don't know if we'll necessarily have a resolution to what direction they're heading. We know O'Neal, pardon me, excuse me, Jaden and Jaden's family. We know Jaden O'Neal is committed to Oklahoma currently. We also know that he's been taking visits elsewhere, Florida State, Georgia. He's being pursued by Auburn as well. I mean, he's a talented quarterback. He's going to get looks from a lot of places. But we also know Ben Arbuckle offered Bowe Bentley, and the Oklahoma Sooners are very high on him as well. They're high on both of these quarterbacks, but they're also high on Bowe Bentley. So Steve Wiltfong of On3, formerly of 247 Sports, just kind of shared some thoughts on this whole situation for Oklahoma last week. And his guess regarding the Oklahoma quarterback situation, Jay, is that Bowe Bentley is a Sooner and Jaden O'Neal is a Seminole. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Wiltfong is throwing out the prediction that he thinks that if there's anybody that's going to flip Jaden O'Neal, it's probably going to be Florida State. Now, granted, he first said that the team that was going to flip Jaden O'Neal was going to be Georgia, and Georgia got that commitment from Jared Curtis, and it doesn't appear that Georgia's interested in taking 2 quarterbacks. So they feel like he's out the game in the same, and then Florida State here. Florida State doesn't have a quarterback in their class. I believe Jaden's one of maybe like 2 they've truly offered. I have to go really dig and see, but it doesn't feel like technically Florida State has really been out there outside of going for Jaden O'Neal. I think that's the one egg in their entire basket, which granted, I totally understand. He is a really good quarterback, and he's the one that, y'all know me, I would like him to be a Sooner, but I know they're putting all their eggs there. Because I mean, outside of what probably Landon Duckworth, a recruit that, you know, they did offer, I think he's really the only one that I feel like they probably have a really good chance of going after besides Jaden O'Neal. So for Oklahoma, it's the pickup of Whit Neubauer has made things a little tricky and got people asking questions. Does it make sense to still go for 2 quarterbacks after picking up Whit? And it's funny, I was listening to the Oklahoma breakdown, John, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Teddy and Gay were basically saying that Whit is kind of different as far as quarterback in comparison to the other ones on there. So it's like they're getting a whole bunch of different types of quarterbacks that don't really match the same style. To me, if that's the case, in looking at it, going back and it's like kind of makes sense. He's a giant quarterback that really kind of stays in the pocket, doesn't really scramble a lot. I mean, he moves around enough, but that reminds me of Jaden. So to me, it's like, feels like they're trying to make sure they have options based upon whatever the SEC gives them. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think part of it is Ben Arbuckle sees guys that have traits, and he feels like he can work with a variety of style of quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
May he have an affinity for guys that are dual threats? Of course, I think every offensive coordinator, if you nailed him down and said, you got to tell me, do you want a pocket passer or a dual threat quarterback? Do you want Donovan McNabb or do you want Michael Vick? I think most would probably say they want a dual threat because of what it does to a defense. It stresses a defense in so many ways. That's not to say that they're not going to take a guy that can stand in the pocket like a Peyton Manning and just dissect things and win with their arm. If you've got a guy with an elite arm and elite processing ability, you're going to take him. You're not going to say, no, I don't like that guy because he can't run very well. No, if he's a good passer, he's a good passer. You're not going to care. But I think what Ben Arbuckle is looking at is he's looking at traits. Like, are these guys, do they have things that can win at this level? Do they have things that can, be used on the football field to make plays and help us win games in practice, help us win in practice? Are there areas where we think we can develop them further to make them viable options if we need to go that route, or they're able to go and win a job? I think that's what it comes down to. And so when you talk about the Jaden O'Neal, Bowe Bentley piece, okay, Jaden O'Neal might be more Cam Ward, where Bowe Bentley might be more John Mateer. If Oklahoma had Cam Ward or John Mateer as an option, are you going to say no to either? No, you're going to be willing to accept both of those guys and accept them happily.
Yep.
Different style quarterbacks, that's okay. You don't need to have the same style year after year after year after year. A good offensive coordinator, and I believe Ben Arbuckle to be a good offensive coordinator, is able to win with multiple styles of players, whether it's the speedy wide receivers on the outside or the big burly ones that are able to win in possession, or the dual threat quarterback versus the pocket passing quarterback.
Yeah, that's a fair point. So because of that, Oklahoma's now going to have multiple options. So Ben Arbuckle, like you said, he's going to be able to choose, he could pick his poison based upon, like I said, what the SEC is giving him. And so I don't think that the Neubauer pickup really adjusts much, just in my personal opinion. I think it's a situation, we talked about this when he committed, you're not going to have another 2022 season. I mean, I can say this with confidence without anybody having to tell me this. We go into Red River with no quarterback and a tight end and quarterback again. Brent Venables is fired before he even leaves the Cotton Bowl. That's just I'm just keeping it a buck. There's no reason for this team to ever deal with that. And because we've had the opportunity to actually pick up talent and have quarterbacks. I mean, the unfortunate time that one was first year, all the quarterbacks you really want to go after committed elsewhere. Heck, Jackson Dart was one they were trying to get with Dylan Gabriel, but Jackson Dart wanted to go start somewhere, and boom, he went to Ole Miss and immediately became the starting quarterback. So, yeah, you're not going to have that you're not going to get that grace this time around. You can't walk in there. You got to have 4 quarterbacks regardless, just in case. And I know that's probably a Brent Venables call more than anything. So, with that being said, I do still think that Oklahoma's probably going to try to take 2 quarterbacks. I do think that Jaden's going to end up probably at Florida State. I kind of have faith in what Wilt Fong is pointing out there. They can use him a lot. And if he makes it there, man, there's a good chance he's going to play very early because he's just that talented.
Yeah, I mean, the buzz at this point, I mean, we're 4 months into when Ben Arbuckle and Oklahoma offered Bowe Bentley. And it just seems like there's just becoming a greater sense that O'Neal won't be a part of this class. And I hate that because he's a good kid and he's a good quarterback and he's a good player. And by all accounts, he's done everything the right way. I mean, he committed to the last offensive coordinator and stayed committed to Oklahoma. He wants to be at Oklahoma.
Yep.
I also don't blame Ben Arbuckle for identifying a guy that he wants to be a part of this recruiting class and a part of Oklahoma's future.
Yeah.
It's the unfortunate nature of the business. It really is. But if it all comes down to it, and Jaden says, you know what, I still want to go to Oklahoma, and Bowe Bentley still wants to come to Oklahoma, I'd be happy to take both. And I think Oklahoma would be as well. And then just let the chips fall as they may over the next several years with quarterback competitions and offseason work and how it all plays out. You never know how it's all going to play out. But yeah, at this point, it would be surprising to see both O'Neal and Bowe Bentley as a part of the class. But man, crazier things have happened in the world of recruiting, and you never know what's going to happen. So, but as we look ahead to the 2025 college football season, one that is a big season for Oklahoma, who are some underclassmen that we should be looking out for that need to have some big summers, but could contribute in a big way in 2025? We'll discuss next, coming up on Locked On Sooners. Thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. And for your second listen, go check out Locked On Stars. They just went up 3-1 on the Winnipeg Jets in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Go Stars. Go check out Locked On Thunder. I mean, you might have some good, some bad. I mean, go listen to our man, the phenomenal Rylan Stiles, and check out his work over there. And just, if you need to grieve a little bit, just go do it with Rylan. He'll walk you through it all. But Jay, as we look to 2025, the Oklahoma Sooners are in a position where they have a pretty veteran roster as they've built through the recruiting ranks and built through the transfer portal. But inevitably, we're going to have one or two underclassmen, maybe even true freshmen, like a Jaden Jackson did last year, like an Eli Bowen did last year, that are going to break out and earn starting roles or earn significant roles in the lineup. So who are a few guys that you're taking a look at? It could be either side of the ball that you feel like we need to be aware of and we need to be watching for to have significant impacts for Oklahoma this year.
Yeah, the lowest hanging fruit of them all is definitely Elijah Thomas. With the shuffle of the wide receiver room as far as injuries are happening right now, he's probably your lowest hanging fruit of them. But I'm going to continue to hit the drum of Trynae Washington. He comes in. He may not be at the 230-pound range you want, but he's around 215. Still a nice size dude. And the tight end room is the one that we don't have anybody with promise that have shown up to take over it. And I think that Trynae Washington can be one of those guys. He's the one that, as we talk about bringing in more transfers, I'm like, nah, can we just play him more? Like, can we just give him more opportunity? Now, granted, he's still got to learn the playbook and he's still got to figure things out as a true freshman. And I totally get that. But like you said, we saw Jaden Jackson as well as Eli Bowen come in and, show that they're a force early. Jaden got the start at the beginning of the season. Eli comes in as injuries start to pile up at the corner spot and he started to come in and he became a threat. So if there's one that I want to see, I think Trynae Washington is probably one of the underclassmen that I'm going to continue to beat the drum on. Let's see if he can do something.
Well, and tight end's one of those positions similar to defensive tackle or cornerback that, like, I don't expect true freshmen to have an impact. And then lo and behold, last year, 2 true freshmen had impacts at 2 of the more difficult positions to have an impact at. So if Trynae Washington's able to come in, learn the playbook, get some of his blocking stuff down, scheme him in the passing game. Just give him opportunities in the passing game as a situational player, use his athleticism, use his speed as a weapon in the offense. And down the road, the blocking will come. Like, you find yourselves in some 3rd and long situations that are obvious passing downs, and you think Trynae is your best option at tight end to be on the field, then give him a shot, man. Let's see what happens. We've got to start finding the future at tight end. You can't be relying upon transfer portal guys every single offseason. So I'm for it. Let me see it. You mentioned Elijah Thomas. It'll be curious to see how that breaks down. There's a lot of, the wide receiver is still, to me, up in the air outside of Deion Burks and Isaiah Satania. I don't know how that's going to play out, how the rotation is going to play out at wide receiver. It could surprise us all.
Yeah.
But he's got the talent and the tools to go be a difference maker. I think, obviously, Michael Fasusi, Ryan Foje. I almost combined the two and called him Michael Foje, Ryan Fasusi.
Yes, there you go.
in lockstep over the next 3-4 years for Oklahoma. It's going to be hard not to utilize them, but it wouldn't surprise me to see both those guys get a lot of snaps, especially in the first few games of the season where Oklahoma's got some of their non-conference opponents.
Yeah.
But also you want them to redshirt, to be honest. Like if all else fails and they are your better options, then by all means play them. But if you don't have to, you're better for it in the long run. But both those guys also have, to me, the potential to be top 100 picks in the NFL draft at minimum. So will they be at Oklahoma for all 4 years of eligibility?
Yeah.
Who knows? Let's look at the defensive side, though, real quick. Because
but before that,
go ahead.
Which one is the dude playing the dude disguised as the other dude when you talk about those two? Because, like, they come in as the same size dude. They're both about 6'6", both about 300 and something pounds. I mean, and they're both really good. Like, it's hard to... We're excited about what they're going to bring to the table. So I had to throw that joke out there. But please continue. We're going to talk about defense.
I think Foje, man, if there's one of those guys that I feel like is going to have the more significant impact this year, it's him. I don't know why. I've been on the Foje hype train for a long, long time and very much a believer in what he does. And I think that he's got the right mentality, the right mindset, the right physicality, the right body size to go be a force at guard. You know, he's not somebody I think is going to be laying back, just kind of waiting his turn. No, he's going to go try and earn a job and take a spot. And, you know, Bill Bowe might, you know, be a little bit loyal to a Febechi Wiwu, but if Ryan Foje comes out through the fall and proves to be a better option, it wouldn't surprise me to see him starting week 1. We've seen them go to true freshmen early in the season if they end up being better options. So we'll see. Defensively, man, I'm looking at a guy like Trenton Wilson. You know, your defensive tackle rotation feels pretty well solidified, but I think you could still find a role for him in that rotation because he's just a guy that just the look of him, the demeanor on him, he looks like a guy ready to come play. He's not going to be sitting back waiting his turn. He's ready to go, similar to a Jaden Jackson, to earn a role and to step out and be a part of that defensive tackle rotation. You know, you got fairly lucky with your health situation last year where your top 4 defensive tackles were available to you all year long. You know, in Dejon Terry and Dominic Williams, Grayson Halton, and Jaden Jackson. Will you have the same kind of luck this year? Hopefully. I really hope so. But you may need a guy like Trent Wilson to play some snaps as a true freshman. And I think people are excited about what he brings to the table.
That's fair. I think the add to that one player when I'm looking at youth that even though we went through the depth chart, I'm thinking that Danny Okoye is probably going to end up showing out. Like we've talked about him like crazy. Like, you know, him and Trent Wilson are probably two players that will probably skyrocket up the minute they get on the field. We saw a little bit out of that at Grayson Halton. That's what we're starting to see now. He's progressing into that dude on the defensive line. Ty Bates has done a really good job with that defensive line. But I think Okoye and Trent are probably I agree with you there on that defensive line. Those two are really going to probably take the next step and actually potentially fight for a ton of playing time. Trent being a true freshman is kind of crazy because I even look at Marcus Strong as one as well. He's one that when you gave him a couple of snaps, he got you 2 sacks. And it's like, oh, well, I don't know where that came from, but that's pretty awesome of you. And he's gotten bigger, and you can tell that he's stronger. He looks the part. And so if he continues to work on his technique, he could also push and give us that good rotation. We talked about this when we talked about the depth chart. You don't want these guys really going 400 snaps, especially in the SEC. They're going to get beat up. It's just the conference. It's just tough. It is what it is. If you can get these dudes around 200 to 300 snaps, get them in some good rhythms, man, you've got a great opportunity there to have one of the deepest defensive lines in the country. Now, granted, Trent's your youngest person. He's the only one really at that youth. So you kind of need to dig in and get a few more of them here in this class. This class, we probably got to go for at least 3 defensive linemen to make sure, interiors, to make sure that we have some to back up Trent or at least grow with Trent. But as you stated, I'm 100% here for Trent. But I think Daniel Okoye also is going to be one that's going to probably break out and show us up.
Yeah, and Reggie Powers, Michael Boganowski, Jaden Hardy, Eli Bowen. Obviously, he's still an underclassman. You know, he's played significant snaps for you as a true freshman. You look at the offensive side, Zion Kearney, Ivan Carrion, those guys are going to play a lot for you. So Eddie Pierre-Louis is a dude that's slated to play a lot for you too in that freshman, sophomore, redshirt freshman range. So you've got a lot of underclassmen that could play significant roles for this team mixed in with a lot of veterans. And I think that's the good balance that Oklahoma has. You've got a good balance of guys competing for snaps that are freshmen, sophomores, or redshirt freshmen or true freshmen. And you've got a really good group of veterans that are holding down those spots saying, if you want it, you're going to have to take it. I'm not going to give it to you.
Yeah. And I think they can. I think we're going to see a lot of that. And I'm pretty excited to see. I'm excited to see that we have a pretty solid set of two deeps everywhere. We've done a really good job of Brent Venables done a great job building the defense up. Him and that staff have done a great job of building it up to where they got a bunch of guys. They've got enough. So now we've just got to go out there and execute. And so I think he's one, though. I think he is one that's going to break out.
And that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Let us know which underclassmen you're most excited to see in 2025, the guys you think are going to break out this season. Make sure you follow Locked On Sooners wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to the show. Hit the notification bell over on YouTube to let you know when new episodes drop. Make sure you're following Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube as well. You can follow me at John9Williams. You can read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. And the show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer
Sooner. But overall, Brandon Hall's been cooking with his recruiting. Cooking.